Well, good morning, everybody. Today we are going to be doing a webinar on using Tecplot 360 with Excel. And while I say Tecplot 360 here, this also applies to Tecplot Focus, which is another product of ours. It's kind of like Tecplot 360's baby brother, used for engineering data and plotting data rather than large simulation data. We'll get into that during the webinar here. So first off, our presenters today, myself, Scott Fowler, I'm the Tecplot product manager, and I'm joined by Devin Simpson, who's also on the product management team. And the two of us really set the direction for Tecplot products, and we're always happy to hear from you. So if you have any questions, if you have any bug reports, if you just want to make a feature request, feel free to contact us anytime. We're always happy to speak with you. So don't be a stranger out there. You've taken the time to join us at the webinar, and we'd love to hear from you as well. All right, so a little bit of background for who Tecplot is, if those of you who are on this webinar have not really heard of us or are new to Tecplot, or just to serve as a reminder. Tecplot was founded in 1981, so we're going 40 years strong this year. We were founded by a couple of Boeing engineers who were writing CFD codes, and they needed a way to visualize their results. So they hired a developer who's still at Tecplot today, and he's built up what is now known as Tecplot Focus and Tecplot 360. We have about 47,000 customers worldwide. We're also known as the most complete desktop solution with our 2D, 3D, XY, and even polar line plots available in the product. And we're dedicated to saving engineers time. We do that through three primary desktop products: Tecplot 360, which I'm going to be using for our demonstration today; Tecplot Chorus, which is used for design space exploration. This is a product that comes with Tecplot 360 when you purchase it. And then Tecplot Focus, which is, like I said earlier, kind of Tecplot 360's baby brother. It has a very similar look and feel, but it is best used with line and 2D data and smaller data sets. So again, everything that I'm going to demonstrate today is doable in Tecplot Focus. All right, so why use Tecplot 360 or Tecplot Focus with Excel? Well, you know, Excel does have some great plotting capabilities, and certainly some plotting capabilities that Tecplot 360 doesn't have, such as pie charts. But you know, we have great line plotting in Tecplot. You can automate a lot of your workflow in Tecplot quite easily through our scripting language as well as our Python API. We have some really nice advanced plotting capabilities, a lot of style options. So if you need to be very precise in how your axes are spaced, or if you want grid lines on the axes, multiple y-axes, line colors, symbol shapes, we have a lot of those capabilities. I'll dive into that a little bit today. Publication quality output. So we support both image and PostScript export. Image export, we support, say, PNG and JPEG, among others. And then PostScript export, we have PostScript, EPS, and WMF. So those will be able to be embedded in papers that you produce for academic journals and such. Tecplot 360 is really great for comparing measured results with simulation results. Tecplot 360's ability to load data from you know, in Tecplot format, Fluent format, Abacus, Converge, you name it. We have a lot of data loaders. You know, even if we don't have a data loader for your data, we do have a way to write your own custom loaders. So if you have simulation data that you want to bring into Tecplot 360 and then compare it with measured results, that's a great reason why you would use Tecplot products. And then LaTeX fonts. About 3 years ago, we added the ability to do LaTeX in the drawing area, and so you may want to take a look at that if you want those for your academic papers. So today I'm going to be focusing on our Excel add-in, and there's a difference between our Excel add-in and our Excel data loader. The add-in is actually accessed directly from the Excel user interface. So I'll show how to enable that, and we'll give you a little tour of what its capabilities are. So I'll show you how to enable the add-in. We'll show you how to use the add-in to load line data into Tecplot 360. We'll show you how to use the add-in to load 2D contour data and make 3D surface plots like you see here. And then we'll explain how the add-in differs from our Excel data loader. And then we also have a couple of other data loaders that I'll reference that are good for comma separated or tabular type data. All right, so introduction to the Excel add-in. Again, it's Windows only. You're going to have to use the Windows version of Tecplot 360 and of course Excel. So you're not going to be able to use this from, if you're on a Linux machine and using say Office 365, you're not going to be able to use it from say the web version of Excel. So it does require the Windows version of Excel. The add-in will launch Tecplot 360 and load the data that you've selected in a specific sheet. And again, it can handle line and 2D contour data. You can see in this image here, the add-in is located in the standard Tecplot 360 installation directory. If you look at Util and Excel, that's where this add-in is loaded. So let's show how to load it. And I will also point out that there is a README file here that has all sorts of instructions and information on how data can be formatted, but I'm going to be going over all of that here in this webinar. So to enable the add-in, looks like a lot of steps, but it's pretty simple. Just in Excel, go to Options, and then select Add-ins, and then from there you're going to go down to the Go button. Make sure that Manage Excel Add-ins is selected. If you hit Go, that's going to bring you to the Add-ins dialog, and the Run Tecplot add-in will probably not be visible for you if you haven't loaded it already. So you'll hit Browse, and then you'll browse to that directory that I mentioned before, the Tecplot 360 home directory, Util, Excel, and then select the add-in, and then you hit OK to bring you all the way back to the front, and then the add-in is going to be loaded. All right, so from here, let's jump into Excel, and we'll show you what it looks like when the add-in is loaded. So here you can see that I have Excel running. I go to the Add-ins tab in the Excel ribbon, and I have some data available right here in my spreadsheet, and I can just simply hit Send to Tecplot, and this is going to launch Tecplot 360. Now, the first time you do this, you may have to click this Find Tecplot button, or it may prompt you to have you point to where the Tecplot 360 executable is. So if you have multiple versions of Tecplot, you can also configure this to use a newer version or an older version, whatever version you have available. Okay, so you see that with just a single click, it loaded the data that I have here in this sheet. This represents average monthly rainfall in Seattle, Tecplot being in Bellevue, Washington, very close to Seattle, and you can see how much rain we get here. We also have average temperature. Well, question is, where is that temperature on my plot? Why is it not there? Well, let's give a little tour here. So if I go to Data, Dataset Info, you can see that the add-in has loaded one zone, and that zone contains 3 variables, just like we see in our spreadsheet: month, rainfall in inches, and temperature in Fahrenheit. If we look at another view here, we go to the spreadsheet dialog, we can see that this looks very familiar to what we have in the spreadsheet. So Tecplot has loaded this data. So again, some of the terminologies here, a zone in Tecplot is effectively just a block of data. All variables in that block have the same number of points. So here we have 12 points for each one of these. All right, so let's see, how do we load or draw the temperature now? We go into the mapping style dialog. This is where we define what data we want to draw as lines. So you can see that Tecplot 360 here automatically created a line map for our temperature variable. It just didn't display it. So all we have to do is click the Show Map toggle. You can see that the data is still not shown. Well, the variable range on my y-axis only goes up to 6, whereas my temperature is in the 40s through 70s. So if I do Control F, it's going to fit my data, but you can see that the data has quite a different range to it. So if we go back into the mapping style dialog, we can choose to show temperature on the Y2 axis, and we'll just do a Control F again. And so now we have rainfall and temperature on the same plot, showing two different axes. So, pretty quickly we're able to create that data and assign some style to it to make it look the way that we want. Of course, Tecplot 360 and Tecplot Focus have a lot of different attributes that you can apply to these lines, different line patterns, different symbol shapes. Shapes can have different outline color versus fill color, so we have a lot of capability there, as well as putting a line legend on the plot as well. And everything's nice and easy to move around and configure just the way you want. So again, the power of Tecplot 360, Tecplot Focus is the flexibility that you have in the way that you can plot your data. Okay, so let's move on to a slightly more complex example with line data. So I'll go ahead and close Tecplot 360 and I'll go to my next tab. So here, if I want to add, say, another city worth of data, there are three ways that I can organize this same data. So again, Tecplot has the concept of zones. So each zone has the same number of points and the same number of variables. So here I've organized my data such that I'll have two zones, one for Seattle and one for Dallas. Each one of these zones is going to have month, rainfall, and temperature. So let's go ahead and select that. And I'm going to select a block of data here because I have many blocks of data on here. So I want to instruct the add-in on which block of data I want to load. So I'll just click Send to Tecplot again. It looks like there are a number of questions that have come in. So while Tecplot is loading up here, I'll just address a couple of them. Is there a way to write month names instead of numbers? That question has been asked a couple of times here. So the answer is yes. Tecplot does have a concept of custom labels. It's going to be an additional step after the add-in to assign custom labels to the x-axis, but that is a capability. Okay, so again, we got the same default view that we got before, but let's go into the dataset information dialog. So now you can see that we have two zones, Seattle and Dallas. Each one of these has 12 points. Each one of these has the same set of variables. So again, if we want to plot this information, we go into the mapping style dialog, and Tecplot 360 here created two line maps for me again, one for each variable, but assigned both of them to Seattle. So let's say I want to see my Dallas rainfall in here. So I would right click on this second line map and I'll change the zone to Dallas. And I'm going to change the Y variable to rainfall, and then we'll activate this. And now I can see my Dallas and my Seattle rainfall on the same plot. Okay, the line legend here, both of these say rainfall, not particularly interesting. So let's change the mapping name here, and instead of, so this is DV, this means the dependent variable. We'll put in zone name here as well, a little keyword here, and hit enter. And now you can see it says Seattle rainfall, Dallas rainfall. And then very easily, if we just wanted to change both of these to temperature, we could do so. And then again, Control F in the workspace. And again, Tecplot does have the concept of multiple frames, so I can plot these data in two separate frames. So I'm just going to select this frame, and I'm just going to go Control C, Control V, and we'll go to the frame, tile frames, tile them vertically, and let's put rainfall up here and temperature in the lower one. Again, Control F. And so now I can see all of my data in one nice view. All right, so we looked at zones. So this represents one zone. This block represents another zone. They're delineated by a blank row here. Another way to organize this data would be just a single zone in Tecplot. I'm not going to load this, but I think you'll get the idea that this is going to load just a single zone, and we'll have 5 variables: Seattle rainfall in inches, Seattle temperature in Fahrenheit, Dallas, and rainfall Dallas Fahrenheit. So again, you could organize your data this way. I'll let you decide which way is best for you. Okay, let's talk about this example here. This is another one where we need to separate the data slightly differently, because let's say I've collected my data monthly for rainfall, but every 2 weeks for temperature. So I have more points. Now remember, a zone in Tecplot, each zone has to have the same number of points. Well, I only have 12 points here and I have 23 points here, so I need to separate the data differently. You'll also see quotes around rainfall and temperature here. This is the zone name. So one of the little quirks of the Excel add-in is that zone names do need to be enclosed in quotes if they have spaces in them, but variable names do not. Right, so let's send this data to Tecplot, and we'll discuss this one as well. All right, so again, we're given a similar default view here. So let's just take a look at how this data was loaded. So again, I have 2 zones, a rainfall zone and a temperature zone. You can see that my rainfall zone has 12 points, my temperature zone has 23. And again, one of the neat capabilities of Tecplot 360 and Tecplot Focus is the use of style sheets. So instead of pointing and clicking, going through all the dialogues to get a certain style, if I want to create a reusable style, I can go through those steps once, save it as a style sheet, and then load that frame style to get a nice view. So let's just go to our webinar here, and we'll load a style sheet. And here, very quickly, we now have a nice plot of our temperature and our rainfall for each city. And you can see how we've used different line patterns, different colors, added a legend to allow us to easily identify the data. Okay, so that covers it for line plots. Again, each block of data is going to represent a zone. They're separated by a blank row, or could be a blank column as well. You know, in this case, see that only one set of variables is defined right here. You don't need to redefine it in the further zones because each one of these has to have the same set of variables. Each zone can have a unique set of points. So here we had to split rainfall and temperature because we have a different number of points. All right, let's go on to a 2D contour plot example. So in this case, the top left cell must either be blank or contain a zone name. And so this is a simple data set where I'm just doing a assign function to define variables in the field, so to speak. The first column, these are my Y values, and the first row here, these are my X values. You can see again, I have 2 zones. My first zone here has more values in the X direction, and my second zone has more values in the Y direction, so they're separated, but I can select this whole block, and we'll again say send to Tecplot. Okay, so here I have now 2 zones. You can see that this one goes from 0.1 to 0.6, and this one from 0.7 to 1.1. Let's just turn on the contour. You can see that the add-in has created 2 zones. First zone with X, Y, and V, and second zone also with X, Y, and V. It's just going to create these 3 variables for you because the variables are implied by the structure of the data. So again, just a very simple 2D contour plot here. Again, one of the nice things about Tecplot 360 and Tecplot Focus are the ability to do some more interrogation with this data. So for instance, let's turn on the mesh. We can probe at various locations. So here we're actually seeing an interpolated value at this location. Again, up here where it's a little bit lighter and possibly easier to see. You can see that we've probed at 1.04, and we can see an interpolated V value at that location. If I want to do a probe at a specific location, or at a grid intersection, I'll just hold down the control button and click, and we've gone to the nearest point. Hard to see because it's the same color here, but if I click there, you can see just a little bit of the tail of that probe marker sticking up above the plot now to indicate that we've probed at that location. Right. Tecplot also has the ability to then extract data across a line. So again, why would you want to use Tecplot 360 with Excel data? It's if you want to do some of these advanced analysis capabilities. So I've just drawn a simple polyline, and I can extract the points along that line, and this will have created a new zone, which I could then plot in a line plot to see how the data varies across the length of that line. All right, and then finally, let's go back and we'll reproduce that plot that you saw in the PowerPoint, and we'll show you a 3D surface from 2D data. I see a number of other questions that have come in, and I'll get to those shortly here. This is the last example. Looks like Tecplot decided to get a little bit bigger, so let's get this back on the screen. All right, so again, I'll turn on the contour layer, and I can put this into a 3D contour plot. And again, we have all the nice capabilities of Tecplot, being able to rotate, zoom, translate the plot. Again, you just don't have these capabilities in Excel. And again, if you do need to interrogate this data a little bit further, let's say you wanted to do a slice along this data, you can see that I've created a surface slice here. And again, I could extract that slice to a line zone and plot that line data in a 2D plot, or a line plot. So again, the power of Tecplot is not just plotting the data, but also the analysis. And I'll remind you that because we do have all of these export formats, you can actually bring this data back into Excel. So just with a simple Control-C, you can see I've selected the plot, and then we'll come back into Excel and do Control-V, and then I have my data, of course, right here. Now, this is, of course, not connected to this data, so if I start changing points here, this plot is not going to update live, but you can bring that data back into Excel if you need to. Okay, so that, again, is a quick rundown of the Excel add-in, and let me go to a couple of the questions. Here it says, Scott, you didn't show how to plot the temperature with a different number of points. Is that because they were separated? So let's go back to this temperature plot. So if we go here, we'll look at the dataset information dialog. The temperature has 23 points, but the variable range here is from 1 to 12, which is the same variable range as our rainfall. If we turn on symbols, you can see that the rainfall has a much sparser set of data, whereas the temperature has effectively double the points. So Tecplot 360 here is plotting all of the points, but since rainfall and temperature zones have the same X range, they're shown in the same view. Okay, when you save a layout, where's the source data stored? That's a really good question. It looks like Devin answered it, but I'll just answer it verbally here. So if I go to save this layout, let me, we'll just save it right here. Line data. So you have two different options for saving a layout. So to educate you all, so a layout is a file which contains all of the style settings that you've made for this plot, and an LAY file saves a link to the data file, or an LPK file is going to actually package that data into the layout file in a binary form. So if we save as an LAY file, this is going to should prompt me to save the data. So I'm surprised that it didn't. So let's just try loading this and see what happens. Okay, so it didn't prompt me to save the data, so it looks like we may actually have a bug here. I'll have to bring that up with the developers. So if you are going to use this, please then use the LPK file. You should also be able to save a data file ahead of time, and then that data file will be associated with the layout file. So I apologize for that bug showing up here in the webinar, but such is life sometimes. Okay, let's jump into some of the differences between the add-in and the Excel data loader. And we'll just point out a couple of other loaders that we have available in the product. So if you go to the load data dialog, you can see that we have a pretty long list of loaders here. So the Excel data loader, this works with .xls files. So unfortunately, if you have XLSX, the Excel loader won't work with those. So you do have to save it out as an XLS. We have a general text loader. This can handle quite a wide range of text formats. There are a lot of configuration options. If you have, header data in there, you can tell it to skip down a certain number of lines until you get to where your data range are. So that might be a good loader to try. And then also text spreadsheet. So this one only shows .txt. It can also handle .csv. So if you select this one and then in the file name field type star.csv, you'll be able to see your CSV files and load those. And that's true with any of our loaders. So, say you wanted to load, a Tecplot file, and your file format or whatever you're writing, or whatever wrote that data, does not use one of these four extensions, you could type your extension here. So if it was a .tecplot extension, you'd then be able to see your files and load it. So it's a little extra step if you have a non-standard format there. So the Excel loader is generally going to be faster than the add-in. So again, the add-in, behind the scenes, what it's doing is it's taking that data in the sheet, it's writing it to a temporary file, and then launching Tecplot and then loading that file. So the Excel loader can be a little bit faster. The Excel loader can be completely automated through our macro language and our scripting language. The macro language does require that you know the row and column count. So that can be a little bit of a challenge with the Excel loader, but again, it is automatable. You can actually append data from multiple files. So you saw with the Excel add-in, every time I said send to Tecplot, it launched a new Tecplot 360. So if you do need to append from different sheets or different files, you may want to use the Excel loader. Again, it works with XLS files only. And the Excel loader at this point can't handle formulas, and it can't handle multiple zones the same way that the add-in does. So if you really can't have that multiple blocks of data on a sheet. Devin, there are quite a lot of questions here. Anything that you think that we should answer verbally here?
I guess just one that I answered in the question pane was supporting multiple y-axes. So you can have up to 5 y-axes. You saw 2 used in the temperature and rainfall, but you could show up to 5 with that, which is kind of a pretty cool and unique capability with Tecplot.
Yeah, we'll just bring up the mapping style dialog again. I think this is the one where I extracted did not extract a zone in here, but you can see you have up to 5 y-axes, also up to 5 x-axes, and then you can control the style of each of those axes through the plot axis dialog. So you can, each one of those x and y axes can have different ranges and different styles. So a lot of flexibility there. So there was one
Yep.
about the contour plots. The legend does not extend to the actual min-max of the data. Is there a way to annotate the actual min-max from the data set next to the legend? Looks like you answered that one, Devin, but we can show that kind of live as well. So you could go into the contour details dialog and we could reset the levels and we could reset the range to the actual variable min and max. So that would be one option. You see it kind of gets an ugly set of values, and you could also just in the dataset info, if we go to V, we could just type these in with annotations. So we could say min is minus 0.402 and max is 1. I believe let's see if I get this min z. Yeah. So we also have the ability to do dynamic text. So min z and max z are dynamic text. So this is going to give you the minimum value for the variable that is assigned to the z-axis. So if I go into plot, assign xyz, you can see that the v variable is assigned to the z-axis. And so that's what that magic keyword means. So you could use the dynamic text.
I guess potentially slightly more useful is max c, which is the variable assigned to the first contour group.
Sure. Right, so then if I change the contouring to my y variable or my x variable, these are clearly x and y are the same, but as I change the contour group, it's going to update that. And like Devin said, min c and max c are the min and max of the variable associated with the first contour group. So we don't have a way to show the min and max if you were using additional contour groups. Okay, well, I think that between the verbal answers and between Devin's furious typing, we've got all the questions answered. It does look like there are a few requests for interop on Mac OS, so we'll certainly take that under advisement. Maybe we have some clever ideas for you to deal with Excel data on Mac. I know our Python API. We've played with some scripts that can interact with Excel using Python. Of course, that requires scripting and not as easy as point and click, but there are some capabilities there as well. So with that, we'll end the webinar, and I appreciate your attention. And like I said before, please do contact me or Devin anytime. I'm available, Scott Fowler at Tecplot.com. You can get Devin through our support email address, support@Tecplot.com. We also do have support available in Europe and Western Asia. That's done by our European office, support-EU@Tecplot.com. And then if you're outside of either of these regions, we have distributors worldwide. They'll be in your time zone. They're going to be able to give you the quickest response for support, so you can find your local distributor at tecplot.com/distributors. Thank you very much.